going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here at Steen78904. That is the DFS handle around the industry. It's 5:30 the East Coast, 2:30 West Coast, 4:30 Tennessee time. So, of course, it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. Joining me today, you guys know him from such things as, what do they know, Grant? Chugging beer, winning tournaments every once in a while, being an all-around swell guy, and for his fabulous fashion attire. What's up, Grant? How are things in your world?
I'm still a little rattled from you talking about elf suicide beforehand.
Context is important. that out of context, that sounds weird, but you kind of started the conversation. You were starting some sort of controversy about the Keebler elf situation. You felt like they were overworked and underpaid, which I have a lot of questions. We don't have time. We have a big boy slate. We don't have time to get into that. I mean, yeah, for sure, if we have time left over, but probably not. 15 gamer, everybody's playing baseball tonight. It's an awesome slate, loaded up on bats. We got a Coors game where there's two rough pitchers and two rough lineups. We have a slew of at least good pitchers, nothing really slam dunk as far as pitchers. Of course, we lost Garrett Cole. He's not pitching tonight. He got the COVID issues. But yeah, could you take a screenshot as far as this slate? Because there's just a lot to like. I don't know how much there is to love, but a lot to like.
Yeah, no, it's a super interesting slate. There's a lot to love. I think there's a lot to love. And that's the problem. I have 7 lineups that essentially they're 5-6 teams that have over a 5 implied team total. I mean, you got the Yankees, you got the Blue Jays, you got the Red Sox, you have Colorado, both teams, Milwaukee, Chicago. Yeah, you've got a ton of huge San Francisco. That was the last one I was looking for. You got a ton of huge implied team totals. You got a lot of aces, but you specifically have a lot of aces that are in very tough spots. And there's one ace that's not in a tough spot that's going to draw a lot of ownership. You have a pitcher that was due for a huge amount of negative regression, had that negative regression, and now everyone wants to play him because of the matchup in the ballpark.
Is that okay? So I'm going to play the game. I'm going to fill in the blanks. Play of Mad Libs. The pitcher you're talking about as far as getting the regression, but the ballpark's great and the opponent's terrible. You're talking about Taijuan Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what to do with him either. And correlation, whatever you want to say, but ever since the whole sticky stuff breakdown, he's one of those guys that he's fallen back a bit. But this Marlins lineup, despite the fact they hit a grand slam yesterday, good old Lewis Brinson, good for him.
Yeah, the guy that you said, I can't believe he's in the league.
Yeah, he should.
You're not wrong. It's hilarious how much you mush things.
Yeah, I mean, good for Lewis Brinson. He was the prized piece in the Christian Yelich trade years ago. He was the biggest prospect.
He's probably about as good as Yelich is right now.
Well, that's the funny thing is I saw somebody tweet out that Lewis Brinson has a bigger OPS than Yelich this year, which, obviously there's small samples going on there. But, yeah. So Taijuan Walker, I think, is kind of sort of somewhat okay. If you want to start there at Taijuan Walker. Well, we should start at you said there's a pitcher that amongst the best arms, there's one that's actually in a legitimate good spot. And I presume we're talking about good old Zach Wheeler.
That is correct. Just solid spot going up against Nationals. They're not good right now. Obviously, Everyone's just kind of gone. And so he's just they're not in good shape. They're not in good shape. I mean, you look up and down their lineup, and if you take Juan Soto out there, they're pretty much the Marlins. That's what they are. It's a AAA team. Bell and Soto are really the only two that are really major league prospects. Or
people
major league
say
players.
that, but you're right. Stevenson is a quad A guy. Hernandez is a nobody. Keyboom is another quad A guy. He's a big time prospect, but just hasn't been good in the majors. Berea, it's terrible. But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm just kind of looking at that and I'm like, yeah, it really is. Soto. I mean, it's the Vincent Vega, the Pulp Fiction gift where he's kind of looking around wherever to go. That's basically Juan Soto looking for his good teammates. Bell's fine, sure, and Stevenson leading off is just fabulous. There's your first mush of the night. Stevenson against righties this season, 119 plate appearances, a 104 ISO, that's dreadful, and a 33% as far as Ks. Love him. And again, the manager has the choice of saying, who do I want to lead off and he says that guy, the worst player in my team, I want him to lead off. But go ahead.
I mean, I'm trying to win.
Well, I mean, I get whatever, but like at least if you're going to go through the motions, if you're going to play baseball, you might as well. There's not a lot of jockeying. Tanking in baseball is not nearly the same thing as is in other sports. You know?
Yeah, no. First, you have when you have a draft that's what 38 rounds.
Yeah,
not as meaningful as like in basketball where it's 2 rounds.
Also, you know that the hits and the misses are much more clear, and in baseball, you're drafting high school kids that you have no idea what they're going to be. And a shortstop might turn into a left fielder, and a pitcher might turn into a catcher, and vice versa. Or you might not even sign your guy if you're the Mets. That also could happen. Or plenty of teams like just don't sign their guys. That just sort of happens. But yeah, talk about Wheeler. He's a really, really strong play on this slate, and it's not that hard to get the money for him either. 9.7 on DK seems a little bit too cheap. FanDuel, you can make it work as well. I'm going to take different iterations and different routes because I like different players at different price points and just kind of going to build my teams from there. But I will certainly have a good bit of Wheeler. It sounds like you're on him as well. You alluded to Taijuan Walker, who, you're just playing the opponent. It's just whoever's throwing baseballs against the Marlins in that ballpark. And that lineup again today is terrible. And I think Brinson's in it again, I'm pretty sure. Kind of mushed him as well. Yeah, Brinson's batting 5th. Anderson is back for what it's worth, and Rojas is annoying because he doesn't strike out so much. And Aguilar, which by the way, Aguilar leads how much RBIs actually matter. Leads the league in RBIs. At least he did a couple days ago. Did you know that?
Nobody did not know that.
Yeah, isn't that wild? I think he's tied with Machado last I saw, but he had like a 4 or 5 RBI lead at the trade deadline. He got 75 RBI somehow. But there's a fun fact for you. I don't know if it was fun.
I mean, honestly, their lineup wasn't terrible when they had Marte and they had
Duvall. Yeah,
Duvall. Like they had a few solid hitters. Like Cooper's a solid hitter. Anderson's a solid hitter. Like you have 5, 6. Jazz is obviously good, but you had 5, 6 solid hitters, and now it's down to 2. So It makes a pretty big difference. I mean, when the top 5 of the lineup is not actually a bad lineup, it makes sense that Aguilar is probably going to be a decent RBI guy, but yeah, it's still weird.
I'm just trying to figure out how they're starting Alfaro and Jackson. They're starting 2 catchers, or who is one of them playing first base? Aguilar's got to be playing first base. How is this? I'm just looking at this now for the first time. We don't really look at like who's actually in the field. Alfaro is playing left field. Okay. That seems weird, right? No? Is that odd?
I mean, a little bit, but not really, considering, what's the better option?
Yeah, I mean, it's bad. It's rough, but like, I didn't know Alfaro. This might be maybe he's played left field. Not somebody tell us in chat how many times Alfaro has played the outfield, because I don't know that's ever happened before. Maybe I've just missed it. But yeah, Alfaro and Jackson and De La Cruz striking out at 34%, 36%, 37% versus righties. Now Walker 22.5% K percent. That's not great. That's fine. 10.7% as far as walks. That's bad. And I think it's actually even worse if you go like the last 30 days. Last 30 days for him, 13.5% as far as strikeouts, 14.9% as far as walks. I'm no expert. I pretend to be one on the internet sometimes, but I think it's bad that when you have more walks than strikeouts, that's bad, right?
I've heard it's not good.
Yeah. So what gives? What gives here? Walker should be okay because the Marlins are terrible, but there's a lot of other options too. So if I land on them, so be it. Hold your nose, but
I have him maxed out. I'm just straight up X'd out. I mean, luckily his price tag of 8.5K over on DK, like really simple. You 100% swap over to Cease, or you have a little bit extra money, you play Kikuchi. Fun name.
It is a fun name. I don't know if I'm rostering Kikuchi. Talk to me.
Why not?
He's in the conversation. Well, I'll tell you.
I feel like every single day you have like 50 people in the conversation.
He's in the cover. I mean, I'm acknowledging his existence. Let's see. Where do I have? I don't think I rank. I ranked Kikuchi 8th on DraftKings today, dollar for dollar. He's in the conversation. He's on the board. Show me Kikuchi. Like 3 people out of 100 said it. Ding. But like he's better than other guys. But I don't think I'm getting there. Wheeler is pretty easy. Manaya is. I thought you were a Manaya guy. Aren't you a Manaya guy? I have him 2nd right now.
No, I'm not really a huge Manaya guy, and I have no problem playing Manaya today. The total's kind of scaring me off of him. The ballpark scares me off of him. Tampa Bay.
Manaya?
Oh.
Sean Manaya?
Yeah, I was thinking Maeda.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I'm all over Mania. I've played Mania so much this season, just made huge sums of money. He's probably going to be my top owned pitcher. It's either him or Wheeler. I try and double barrel both of them in a lot of lineups, which makes it kind of easy because there's a lot of lower price stacks that I like, or at least 2 lower price stacks outside of Coors. And it's just he's good. He's very good. He's been fantastic. If you read Cheese's article today, which I'm sure you did, because everyone should read it every day, he goes over how Mania has done over the last month, how he's done over the last 2 months. Like, he's not really known as a huge strikeout pitcher. He's just known as a bit of an ace that's been very good. But you look at his numbers over the last month, and they're just absolutely fantastic. I'm pulling them up right now on Plate IQ. 2.49 xFIP, 36.5% K rate, 4.2% walk rate. He's going up against the Padres. Yes, it's a very tough lineup, but it's not nearly as good without Tatis in there. So it's not the best lineup in the world. They're probably going to grade out as around a 23% K rate team, probably slightly above average, probably one.
It's 20.1. The starting lineup is out there in Plate IQ, and they did grab a DH, obviously, jumping into
It's 20.1, but it's going up against left-handed pitching, and that's just a 1-year sample size. It's not really, if you go back to the beginning of last season, it's 20.9, but still, like, it's not a huge enough sample size where, looking at it just off the top of my head, I think it's probably closer to a 20 to 23% K rate, because how Plate IQ kind of does it is it's more based off of plate appearances in that sample size. So obviously a guy with 4 plate appearances and 100% K rate is not going to bump it up like 4%. Like, that's just not how it works. So it's based off of total overall sample size. And a few of the higher strikeout guys like Kim and Marisnik are not weighted as heavily because they don't have a huge sample size. Whereas guys like Cronenworth, Machado, Myers, Hosmer have all had.
Who's that now? Who's the last guy you said?
Hosmer. I've got Hosmer.
By the way, you talked about reading Cheese's article. 2-time millionaire winner Dave Potts. Cheese is good. We're looking at Plate IQ right now. Devin, I'm sure is showing off some tools here. Producer Devin. We say he's multitasking. He's showing off the tools. He's compiling your questions there in chat. What up, chat? We haven't said hello to the chat just yet. Chat, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications. It's a good time. Fire off some questions too. We're setting aside like at least 10 minutes or so in theory later on in the show to knock out as many questions you guys have. Whatever you don't talk about, can't talk about everything. 15-game slate. Elaborate on this. What stack do you like? Where would you rank this stack 1 through 5? You like to play that game? That's a lot of fun as well too. Or just this guy or that guy. Overarching thoughts as far as the slate. Fire them off. Devin will be compiling and joining the show later. How do you go ahead and get yourself RG Premium? Well, you get $10 off the first month. We'll drop that link in chat as well. You just want one sport, you just want baseball, have at it. It's all yours. Or you can get all the sports: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, MMA, esports, golf, everything with the exception of NASCAR. To my understanding, that's how it goes down. You get $10 off that way. All right, I cut you off, but I wanted to get the promo out there, Grant. You have a final thought as far as Mania? Like you said, he's been in good form. He just shut this team down last time as well. The ballpark does suppress strikeouts to some degree because there's a lot of foul territory, but also it's good for run prevention as well.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, because of the foul territory, yes, it suppresses strikeouts, but a lot of times you're going to take an out. It's not going to be too often where it's like, oh, he would have struck him out. Like, it's going to slightly decrease, but then he also has the chance at the next batter. Like, just kind of how things work. And it's less so with him than it is with other pitchers because he's such a pretty big ground ball pitcher. So it like Mike Fiers, it suppresses his strikeouts because
Mike Fiers,
everything's up in the air.
The worst pitcher ever in the history of baseball to have more than one no-hitter, Mike Fiers.
Yeah, what are there, like 8 of them that have done that?
I don't know. Nolan Ryan did it. He's not as good as Nolan Ryan, I can tell you that.
Yeah, Justin Verlander did it.
He's at 2?
I think so, yeah.
Good for him.
I think he said 3.
Okay, yeah. Justin Verlander, the most active career wins in all of baseball. You know who's second? We can ask the chat. Maybe the chat will know.
Ooh, yeah, this is a tough one. Don't tell me. I'll think about it.
Yeah, you'll think on it. The chat's going to catch up and let you know. So let's also depends on where you're shopping. This is important, at least for me. Tyler Mahle is 7.9K on FanDuel. I like that price for Tyler Mahle. Minnesota, they lost Cruz. They lost their DH. Donaldson's not in the lineup tonight. I'm assuming he's in the IL, isn't he? Isn't Donaldson hurt? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, Sano's in there, which is a big power bat, but he also strikes out plenty as well. the Rooker has some power potential, but he'll strike out plenty. Also, Garver, same deal. Can't really play him on DK. I don't want to say can't. I won't. But on FanDuel, I like the price for not just Molly, but you know who else I'm looking at there? The old FanDuel Grant is Luis Patino is 6.8K. You can load up all the bats. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, first I want to say Fires might not be. Homer Bailey has 2 no-hitters.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, who's worse, Homer Bailey or Mike Fires?
I mean, Fires at least had some longevity. I'm going with Homer Bailey is the worst. But yeah, like, so Patino, I don't mind that price over on FanDuel, but I think he's going to draw some. It doesn't look like he's going to. Our current projections have.
I'm going to own him plenty. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, so over on DraftKings, oh gosh, yeah, these ownerships changed drastically since the last time I refreshed. So we have Patino more ownership than Kikuchi. That's weird.
That's on DraftKings or on FanDuel or both?
On DraftKings. On FanDuel, I guarantee Patino's going to be pretty darn chalky. Like, it's just that price tag. He's still an above average strikeout pitcher. This is still an above average strikeout lineup. But how many lefties are in that lineup?
Which lineup are we looking at? I'm sorry. I was Googling Homer Bailey. I was curious about Homer Bailey. I wanted to put the numbers side by side, Bailey versus Fires, because I feel like Homer Bailey had like not as a horrific a career as you might think. But
he had 1 year where he brought in a splitter and he did all right, and then he just went to trash.
All right. Seattle Mariners, how many lefties we're looking at? 1, 2, Toro, Fraley, Kelnick, Bowers, 5 if you count my UCF math versus Patino.
7.
What? I forgot
Crawford. Yeah, you forgot to switch hitters, you dummy. That's UCF math.
There
so he's going up against
National
7 lefties, and yes, like some of them aren't great, but realistically, this team isn't as bad. That's why they're in the playoff hunt. They're not a huge strikeout team outside of Kelnick, Raleigh, Bowers. Like, those are the only 3. It's really just 2 decent strikeout bats. Going up against lefties, Patino, 16% K rate on the season. Go back to the beginning of last season, 19% K rate. He does not strike out lefties a ton. He has a good slider. He has a below average changeup that he doesn't even throw that often, that actually gets hit decently hard. He is not good versus lefties. And these are all lefties that, for the most part, aren't that bad. Haniger, one of the 2 righties in the lineup, and France, the other guy, neither of them strike out a huge clip. So you're not getting a huge strikeout ceiling. Yes, he had a good matchup in his last outing. And yes, this is a decent ballpark for pitching, but this is not the spot to use him, especially when other people are going to use him. I'm a full-on fade of Patino. I have no interest in him at all, and I really like the Seattle bats.
Yeah, it is. You do make a reasonable point. 7 of the 9 guys are lefties there, and the K.
And if it's still up on the board, I think Patino's strikeout prop was like 7.
I saw it at 6.5. That's prop. Look, I'm still going to play him some. Like, he's in good form, 2 good starts in a row where he has another 90 pitches. They kind of babied him there for a bit. And the Seattle team, I know they're in the playoff hunt. By the way, I just Googled the 538 projections. You know what their percent chance of making the playoffs are? Mariners? Your Seattle Mariners.
2%.
10%. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Do you know who put a $5 free bet down to win $1,000 on them last night?
Well, I'm guessing that was you.
This guy actually.
Do you know who threw away a $5 free bet?
I mean, honestly, no. I think their odds are probably that. And with free bets, you don't get the equity back, so you actually want to go as long shot as possible. So even if their odds were 170 to 1, long term, you're making the same amount of money as if you put something on just a spread bet.
By the way, Yankees just 37% after that loss last night. Did you get the answer, though? Did Jack got the answer as far as the second act of most wins currently in baseball? You know what it is? Future Hall of Famer.
Jake Arrieta? Arrieta?
Zach Greinke.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's been around forever. He's like 17 seasons or something like that. Kershaw.
I've seen him pitch a few times.
Yeah. Well, not in Kansas City. You probably saw him in LA, I imagine.
Actually, I don't think I saw him in LA. I saw him when he was playing the Rockies when he was with Arizona multiple times.
There you go.
Don't know why it's just actually worked out that way.
So on DK, I think we have to talk about the pitcher for the Yankees. Of course, there's no Cole. Luis Gil is 4K on DK. And if you want to open the world, he's kind of sort of something interesting. I've never heard of Luis Gil until like 3 hours ago when I was digging into his minor league stuff. And last start in the minor leagues, he went like an inning in the third, got absolutely shellacked to get up 6 runs. Before that, he actually pitched like 5 or 6 innings. So in theory, I think he can pitch, 5 innings if he's pitching well. And he had a lot of strikeouts and a lot of walks. But he's 4K. I think he's kind of sort of someone interesting on DK as your SP2 to kind of open the world up. Have you thought about the Luis Gil at any capacity?
I'm playing both sides of that game because you have a guy that is literally taking to give up. Only has a ground ball rate in the year, small sample size. I'm freezing.
Yeah, it sounded like, do you ever see that scene in Wayne's World where they're trying to order like the fast food joint, and if they get your order wrong, you get your food for free? And Garth or Wayne. This is a very dated reference. This is what's happening in my ear though for some reason. I'm not sure is Grant still with us. I can't see him.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm closing my 100 tabs I have open.
Well, why did you have 100 tabs open? You couldn't
because I'm
this problem?
Cool.
Yeah. So finish.
And now Chrome does no longer works for me.
Oh, I thought you were saying Crone was a scratch for a second there.
See, Crone, Sean Figgins looks like Crone.
Sean wasn't it Chone Figgins, right? He got a bunch of money from the Mariners after like one good season.
Oh, trust me, I know.
Good for him.
Richie Sexson and Adrian Beltre, who came back down to the earth, but then actually ended up being probably a Hall of Famer. Mariners have signed so many.
Touch his head.
Oh yeah, I know not to touch his head. I've learned my lesson. One of my buddies, he came to his brewery and I think he touched his head.
What? Are you serious? You know somebody that touched Adrian Beltre's head?
No, I don't think he actually did. He did go to his brewery though.
Oh, well, that story was more fun when it was a lie. How about Dylan Cease? Do we like Dylan Cease at all? He's kind of
love him. Absolutely love him. Absolutely love him today. Like not as much as Kikuchi, but so right now my player pool is I might end up with some Gil, but right now it's Wheeler, it's Manea, it's Kikuchi, and it's Cease. Those are the only 4 guys I want to play because Kikuchi's coming in at super low ownership, so I don't need to take a shot on anyone else. I'm willing to take the risk. Cease 23% ownership. I still think that's a little bit low when you consider his price. Manea 2% ownership. It's going to be higher than that. I can guarantee that. It's probably going to be closer to 10, which I still think is too low. And then Wheeler, that's just the safest guy on the slate by far. Like he's not really had a blow up all season long. He's had, again, from Cheese's article, 21 starts, no more than 4 runs in any start.
Can we say the same thing about Bueller? Because Bueller's kind of sort of that guy too. And he's going to throw his 90 plus pitches, but he's got a tough matchup against Houston. Do we think Jordan Alvarez plays today? Of course, they lose their DH. And I think that matters to some degree. Of course, if you're considering Bueller, but there's no discount for the matchup against Houston.
Yeah, I mean I'm not paying 10.9K. It's too constrictive.
Is it though? Like you could still.
Yes.
I mean, what if you pair him with Gil?
Yeah, would I rather play Bueller and Gil or Cease and Kikuchi?
Just asking questions, man. I understand. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, it's not worth it to me. I have no interest in playing Bueller today. Like I understand playing him, but the way my builds are coming out, it just doesn't work. It's not helpful. I'm stuck with one trash batter when I don't have that much. Like honestly, I'm not going to be surprised if both Cease and Kikuchi outscore Bueller tonight. Actually, you want to make a chugging bet?
Well, no. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily. Cease and Bueller. What is it? What is it now? 2 guys.
Cease and Kikuchi both outscore Bueller.
Oh, no, that's not going to happen.
So you'll take it?
Sure.
Nice.
You won your bet. I'll give you props. You won your bet last night. You were on crunch time. One of the things you guys get if you have premium, obviously, with Cardi, you bet. I think wasn't your shot that Baltimore hits 4 home runs last night? Wasn't that your shot bet? I think it was.
I think that was my bold call in the expert survey. But my shot bet was over 2.5. So 3 or more. I was prepared to go to 4. I offered 2.5, and he said sure. I'm like, that's better than I thought.
He's never watched Deal or No Deal, clearly.
Yeah, no deal. I'm darn good banker. But
Yankee fans got the full Andrew Haney experience last night, man. But go ahead. It's DFS. All we care about is tonight and tonight only.
Yeah, I mean, so Kikuchi and Cease are both very good strikeout pitchers. They're both Kikuchi's a very good real life pitcher going up against the team with the 3rd highest strikeout rate in the league versus lefties. Granted, adding Cruz and Wander Franco is going to make that a bit better. But still, they're 95 WRC plus going up against lefties on the season. They're not great versus lefties. Like they've struggled versus lefties. I mean, when you have some of your best bats are lefties, you're going to struggle versus lefties. And so it's a spot where I like to target lefties going up against Tampa Bay, just because they end up either with high strikeout bats or bad bats in the lineup. And yes, Cruz and Franco being in there, but Kikuchi has been fantastic.
He's been
He's been very good over the last like 2 months. I think he's had 1 or 2 blowups, but you look at his last 10 games. Yeah, 2 bad games versus LA and New York, and then came back and struck out Oakland 12 times, and then Houston 7 times. Like he's had some rough matchups, but in his last 10 games, he's had like 7 starts of over 23 points. Like he only had 3 bad starts. That's it. That's really it. And those were against some tougher teams. So
I think it's when I rostered him. I never get that guy. I think one was versus the Yankees.
Oh, really? I feel like that's everyone you mentioned not to play or to play. You mush him every single time. But this is one of the few guys on the slate that can go up to 100 pitches. He can get 7 innings, more likely to be at 5, but he can get up to 7 innings. He's going up against a high strikeout team. He's playing in a good ballpark, and he's virtually unowned as a great pitcher.
I think Max Fried is kind of interesting in that kind of same sort of grouping against St. Louis, a St. Louis team that's pretty. I mean, they're supposed to be better. They just seem like underachievers there all the time. But if you look at goalies' numbers versus lefties this year, it's horrific. Remember, once upon a time, and I'm not saying he can't have lefties anymore, but then that's not a mush. But his ISO this season, 70 at bats, is 67. A 67 ISO versus lefties. That's terrible. Brutal.
By the way, someone hopping into chat, Kikuchi has a 1.76 whip and allowed a 326 average over the last 30 days. That doesn't matter. Those are ancillary numbers. They can change drastically. BABIP can hit anyone. He's not walking a ton of guys, so it's literally just BABIP. You look at his actual numbers over the last 30 days, he has a 3.57 xFIP with a 31% K rate. I don't care what his whip or his averages. That does not matter. And looking at numbers are just misleading. That's why people have been still playing Taijuan Walker for the last month, even though he's trash.
I was on that mush a long time ago, and I called the mush the wrong night because he crushed, but it doesn't matter. McCullers is a good pitcher that I don't think we're playing tonight. Snell used to be a good pitcher that I don't think we're playing tonight. I'm definitely not playing Snell. There's no chance of playing Blake Snell. Kenta Maeda is a good pitcher that I'm probably not playing. It's just a slate with a bunch of good pitchers, and we'll talk about the bad ones in a second. We talk stacks. Give me your final thoughts. Anything we didn't talk about? Anything you want to hammer home before we talk about some stacks?
No. I'll just reiterate it. My player pool for pitching is Kikuchi, Cease, Manea, and Wheeler. It's probably those guys in that order. Wheeler's my least favorite of the 4 because of ownership, but all those other guys are absolutely fantastic plays at their ownership.
They're all in the conversation. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm trying to say they're great plays. Fried is in the conversation.
Yeah.
Maeda is in the conversation. Maeda. There we go. That's so confusing. Kenta is in the conversation.
Blake Snell was in the conversation, but I said I'm not playing Blake Snell. He was in the conversation, but he's not in the conversation. If that makes sense, right? I said him.
It's saying in the conversation of people were playing.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Like Snell, you really easily end the conversation. I'm not playing Blake Snell. It wasn't a conversation. It was I'm not playing it.
I like your pool. I would unless I missed something, I would add Gil on DK. I think he's playable, squeamish.
That's
but
fine.
playable.
I may end up playing him if I can't really want to get it.
And on FanDuel, I would add Male at 7-9, and I will play some Patino. And you make some good points about all those lefties in Seattle, but I still play some because he's super cheap and he's been in good form. And even though Seattle guys, even if they stand with the left side, they're still not great. A lot of them. Stacks. There's a lot of good stacks. The Yankees, never again. They screwed us last night, but I still feel good about the Yankees once again tonight, going up against Alexander.
Baltimore's going to
win. Baltimore's. Well, I mean.
Oh, you mean like last night where they had a better pitcher going?
Well, Baltimore had a better pitcher too. We don't know what Gil is. Like again, he's shown some of strikeout ability. We'll give him that.
Gil's going to give up 6 runs in the first 3 innings.
I mean, that's ambitious. So are you stacking Baltimore again? We're talking stacks. You like Baltimore stack?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm playing a lot of the high total stacks. Like I really like San Francisco.
Yeah.
I will play Coors. Like it's just what it is. I really like Chicago and I really like New York. Like those are and I like a bit of Milwaukee. But the two stacks I really like for tournaments, especially big field tournaments, are Seattle and Boston.
I like Boston. I don't love the Seattle.
Not Seattle,
so much.
sorry, Seattle and Baltimore.
Oh, you don't like the one I said I like Boston. You're like, nope, I don't.
Boston's
like
also on the board. Again, any of these teams with over a 5 implied total, like they're just there. There's enough of them where one of them's probably going to go for like 8-9 runs. So I'm double stacking those with Baltimore and Seattle. That's what I'm doing. Baltimore is going up against Gill. Gill has strikeout stuff, but guess what? He has no control, and
he walks
gives
too
up
many guys.
He walks too many guys, but he also does not get ground balls. What happens when you don't get ground balls?
You have fly balls that turn into pop-ups or homers.
Yes, and you get line drives that turn into singles and doubles. So this is not a good spot. He's going up, and it doesn't help that Mancini's not in there, but it just makes it a super, super cheap stack. I mean, Mullins is an all-star. Mullins is great this season. Montcastle,
why did they
very
move him?
good.
They should have traded him for something. I don't know if they're getting no offers, or whatever. But
I mean, I don't know if you know this. Baltimore is a horribly run organization.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
But-
Colorado, like hold my beer. But
Yeah,
Trevor
but
Story is
everyone's-
somehow still a Rocky. But go ahead.
everyone's super cheap. Like outside of Mullins, Montcastle's not expensive. Santander's not expensive. Hayes is not expensive. Like DJ Stewart, I haven't checked his price, but yep, it's
He's
2K.
gonna be cheap. Yeah.
It's 2K. If you don't throw Mullins in, the average price of your player at most is going to be 2,800. Like I don't think you can build a 5-person stack under 2,800 on average.
Let's talk about cores. 11.5 as far as the total. Davies versus Freeland, two beatable pitchers for sure. The problem is the Cubs offense is deplorable. The Rockies offense is bad too. But the prices are so cheap. So like they're almost like begging you, especially on DK, to play some of these cores bats. Let's just feature some of these prices here. Like Blackman at 4.1, Rogers at 3.4, Tapia 3.9 leading off. Even Cronus 4K. Ortega, who's just hit 3 homers the other day. I know it's left on left, but Freeland won't be their entire game. Probably gets those 5 ABs. He's 2.6K leading off. Bodie, David Bodie's 2.7K. Hap is 3.6. Frank Schwindel, I have it on good authority. That's a real person. He is 2K on DK. Yeah. So I don't know what to do with it. I don't want to be overweight to Chicago and Colorado, but DK is telling me like I should be playing some of these people because they're so cheap. They're playing in cores. What do you do with these teams?
I'm playing them. Like I'm probably right with the field of. I'm rolling out likely either anywhere from I'm rolling out 5 lineups to 7 lineups per site. So I'm going to end up with a Colorado, a Cub stack, and a Rocky stack, just one. So essentially 20% exposure with stacks. I'll be right with the field. Just is what it is. Like I don't like it. I'm not happy about it. I'm full 5-man stacking them in all likelihood because you can do it super cheap with the Cubs. You can do it super cheap with the Rockies. It just is what it is. It's course. There's not a good answer. And I don't think a lot of people are going to play him today. Like our ownership projections have them pretty low, which is probably what they should be. They're low enough owned where I'm just going to do it. McMahon is 13% projected ownership. Crone is 11% projected ownership. Story, who's actually the one very good play, 16% projected ownership. Everyone else is single digit, except for over on the Cubs side, Contreras and Wisdom, who are both legitimately good plays.
The other stack you mentioned was the Giants, and they're just annoying too because I'm always afraid they're kind of like Tampa where they double swap guys out. I think 3 guys got double swapped out last night.
I don't like this lineup right now.
But like Slater and Ruff are not long for this game. Like maybe one sticks around the entire game just because depending on who makes the last out, when the pitcher's up and all that kind of stuff, when they make a change. But
Yaz is 100% coming in at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's going to play at some point. And I don't know when he's going to come in, but like Flores, he can get the hook. Ruff is so much better versus lefties than he is versus righties. And again, if I had the same approach last night and I missed out on that dude that hit the grand slam, I can't remember his name. And I had giant stacks without him because I try to outsmart the system. And if they bang out the homer before the swap comes in, who cares? Doesn't matter. And they're also really cheap. That's the kind of the point I was getting at. Slater and Ruff are basically punts on FanDuel. Slater's 3K on DK, not as appealing. Rough 3.9, not as appealing, but it's kind of more of a FanDuel thing. Slater is super, super cheap, and so is Rough, and I don't know what to do. It sounds like you're not really enthused with what the lineup's looking at. Duggar in the 8-hole, Estrada, no Buster Posey. Okay, Sally's in there. That's what I'm looking at. I'm like, what's weird?
Yeah,
with this lineup?
without Posey and without Yaz, like, yeah, it's tough. Like, you can go Yaz, Posey, Bryant, and then throw 2 in and hope that they don't get pinch hit for. Without Posey, without Yaz tonight, like, I was on them, but like the lineup came out, I think, just a little bit before we hopped on here, so I haven't had a chance to remake my lineups. I don't think I'm gonna have much of them. Like, it's just too tough here. Bumgarner's trash, so it's tough.
It's a revenge game. He's very angry at San Francisco.
Yeah, well, in bad. Like, if I revenge game, probably wouldn't.
Grant, you're gonna have a revenge game against your internet service because, good lord, what's going on over there?
I have no idea. I have 150 megabits.
Is that a lot of bits, Devin? That I don't speak that code.
Devin, answer.
I don't think he heard the question.
I was just making sure Grant was able to figure things out.
Oh, yeah. So, by the way, I'm looking at our expert rankings here as far as stacks today. Myself, yourself, Dave Potts, Jesus Good, Kirk D, so I saw in the chat. Cumulatively, all of us, we ranked the stacks today. We have New York number 1, Colorado number 2, Boston number 3, Cubs, Milwaukee, Baltimore. You know why Baltimore's there? Because you ranked them. You're the only one to rank Baltimore, but they cracked.
I'm probably the only one that ranks Seattle too.
You are. Atlanta, Oakland, and then Seattle. Yeah. Well, you already talked about Seattle. You talked about Baltimore. Oakland's interesting just because Snell will walk the world, and he's going to get. I like Marte. I think he's a good one-off. Just like I think Marte is just going to steal a couple of bases if he gets on. We saw he's got the green light there with three stolen bases the other day in a previous game there for Oakland. And I don't like the Snell side. I hate that ballpark, obviously, and it's I don't care so much about the ownership. Nobody's going to own these guys on a 15-game slate. Nobody's playing Marte or Olsen or Kana. Is there anything else that's worth kind of featuring, or is that the Cubs we talked about? We mentioned Boston in passing. Do you want to finalize the thought? Peralta's been pretty good, but we don't believe that's real, right? I don't think we believe it's real.
I mean, the main problem is that he is still a ground ball pitcher, so it doesn't really bode too well for them. I mean, he's getting 50% ground balls to both sides of the plate. So I'd rather target the guys that hit the ball in the air. That's Hernandez. That luckily there's a lot of them. That's Hernandez. That's Duran. That's Devers. Who else?
Oh, no lineup yet for Boston. We're an hour before the game starts. They know the lineup. What's going on there? Is there something that's up in the air that I'm not aware of?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's sort of strange. I'm not really sure what's going on there in Boston, but in theory, we'll get a lineup soon enough. By the way, just nobody's playing the Mets, and I understand, terrible, but Nick Neidhart, the Marlins announce their pitcher every single day 2 hours before the game starts, and we thought it was going to be Braxton Garrett, who looks like he's he's a decent prospect at one point, was great last time out. Are you playing the Mets? They have a 5-team total in this ballpark, and they're locked in for 9 innings, and they got some legit power in Alonso and Baez.
Is Neidhart starting now?
Neidhart's the starter. Yeah, the Marlins change all the time.
I know. I assumed. I thought I saw it before we went on. That was still Braxton Garrett.
No, I think the Mets are a little bit. Nobody's playing the Mets. There's nobody's gonna. If you want to just one off Alonso, Polar Bear, why not?
Oh yeah, I have absolutely no problem ever one offing Alonso. He's just very, very good at bases ball. But Neidhart's so bad. He's so bad.
Neidhart. You like Baду versus Richards? How do you feel about Detroit?
Look, I know how Neidhart says his name because I have the same first 3 letters. So
is that how that works?
Yes, I'm Nefer. He's Neidhart.
Yes. Well, I mean, you are incorrect in this one. I've heard the announcers call him Neidhart. But funny, I watched a fair bit of Marlins.
Oh yeah, if the announcer said you should jump off a bridge, would you?
Well, I mean, that would be a weird thing to talk about in the middle of the game. they would just give you
hey,
give a
James
shout out.
Shavelson, go jump off a bridge. Well, they were right on Neidhart.
2-1 count to Haniger. So anything else of note, or shall we you want to just turn it over to the chat and see what's on the lines?
Yeah, let's just get questions.
All right. Devin, You good to go? You ready to join us?
I'm
Fire off
here.
Some questions.
Yeah, I'm here. Had a coughing fit. Had to run to the bathroom real quick. Appreciate you giving me a
worries.
second.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, we got some questions loaded up. Let's knock out a quick stacks game.
All right.
1 through 5. 1 in the play or 1 not in the player pool. 5, you love them. Toronto, Dean.
3 in the conversation. Yeah, Toronto's a weird team because we haven't even talked about Toronto, but like Zach Plezek is okay. It's fine.
It's tough to fit him in. That's the problem.
Yeah, and they're
If you're
now
playing
in
Gill,
Toronto.
yeah, stack him up.
They put what's his name, Biggio on the IL today for what it's worth. I don't know who Valera is. I don't think Breivik. How does that guy pronounce his name? Breivik.
Breivik Valera.
Not sure I know who that is.
Hearing a lot of talk, but not a lot of numbers on this stacks game.
Oh, you're right. I'm gonna
3.
say, yeah, I was gonna say 3. Like I don't really know what to do with Toronto. Like, and they're in the Sky Dome now, which is a good hitter's ballpark, but not what it used to be. It's not Buffalo and it's not Dunedin. But go ahead.
Angels, Grant.
2.
Yeah, it's weird because Otani is popping, and in your optimal lineups, you're supposed to play Otani, but like nobody else, or maybe Upton. Jordan Lyles isn't good, but it's nice ballpark. They did call up Joe Adell, which is nice to see. Good to see a promotion for him. One time, one of the biggest prospects in baseball, wasn't very good. His first cup of coffee. Yeah, I say all that to say, meh. Yeah, 2.5. I'll have some Otani. Maybe some Upton. That's about it.
The slowest 2.5.
Well, I was also giving a little like kind of the whole general thought in the Angels too. I figured he covered that.
Yeah, that's not how the game works, dummy.
I also, it's my fault. I didn't announce we should go right into lightning round. We have less than 10
really?
minutes. Yeah, we have less than 10, and we have a good bit of questions.
I think that Dean would know that by now since it's every day with him.
No, because it depends how we have more questions some days than others. But go ahead, Devin. Now we're in lightning round. I'm aware.
Braves.
3.5.
Yeah. Yeah, 3.5. John Lester, I hear he's old and terrible. 3.5.
All right.
Terrible
Good
ballpark.
lightning.
Yeah.
I just hate that ballpark, man. It's just so blah.
Brewers. How about that, Dean?
4. I like the Brewers.
4.
All right. A couple of other stat questions. Alan wants to know DK tournaments. Would you mini stat Cleveland?
I mean, Franmil, Jose Ramirez, one other guy. Yeah, that's fine.
Miles Straw. Who's the other guy?
Rosario.
Yeah. It's
Bobby
rough,
Bradley.
Man. Hit a home run yesterday,
Mercado
right?
at the min price.
Miles Straw homered yesterday?
No, Rosario, right?
Oh, okay. I think Miles Straw was like, well, good for Miles Straw.
K-Town's
And-
Finest wants to know DK tournaments combining Braves White Sox stack. Grant, you're the White Sox whisperer.
I like the White Sox today. They're one of my favorite stacks.
I like it too. Eloy's back, by the way.
Eloy!
We were wanting to know what the Dean Mush play of the night is. I think we got that in Stevenson, correct?
Oh, yeah. Andrew Stevenson's 2K leading off versus Zach Wheeler. I mean, it could always be, the reliable Lewis Brinson. I'm happy to mush him on back-to-back days.
I heard some Brinson chatter earlier, yes. Alex wants to know, can you rank Cease, Patino, and Maeda from both of you?
Go ahead, Grant.
Cease, Maeda, Patino.
Yeah, I got Cease first, and then Patino, and then Maeda.
All right, still some more SP questions. Kyle wants to know for tournaments, what about Freed?
Freed's fine. I prefer Kikuchi and Cease.
And it's natural, 15-game slate. We're not going to be able to talk to everybody. So if there's somebody you like, we'll take some time here and go over them. Hauser versus Pittsburgh.
No.
No, there's so many good arms tonight that Hauser's just seems totally unnecessary. By the way, let me just run this down for the people that they always want to know the pitcher's umpire or hitter's umpire. There's a lot tonight. So let's just get it out there. People like this stuff. Of course, this is part of the lineup HQ that you get with RG Premium. Extreme hitter's umpire for Neidert, for Suarez, for Jordan Lyles, for Hauser, for Kranick. Terrible names, by the way.
Kranick.
Taiwan Walker.
Kranick's a fantastic one.
Well, I mean, as far as like people you want to consider rostering tonight.
Kranick!
Didn't the Seattle hockey team just name their team the Kranick?
No, the Kraken.
Oh, thank
It's a
you.
mythical creature.
So close.
Samsonite. Extreme pitchers. This is the reverse of what we're talking about. Extreme pitchers umpire. Male. Hey, look at that. Maeda. They're in the same game. That would make sense. Freeland and Coors, Wells, Davies, and Gill. Go ahead, Devin.
All right. GR Sauce wanted to know a simple question. Fade chalky SPs any site since there's a good amount of low owned ones. And I thought that was a good conversation to have because I will definitely be building out some lineups where I put both of the most owned pitchers in a group and doing a max of one and seeing what that looks like. What do you guys think?
This is lightning round, Devin. That was a lot of words.
I don't have numbers for this one.
Play Manea and play Kikuchi. You have a 4% owned total pitching pool. Just play those guys.
Now you said Manea?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. I know we had some issues earlier on that one.
It's super. I'm still confused now. I've got the
it's Manea,
Maeda, and Yips.
Dean, B. Joel came to the Cash Guru here, wanting to know what are the DK SPs.
I have officially not built my lineup just yet, to be honest. But in my head,
it's Wheeler and Cease.
I think it's Wheeler and Manea. But if you want to play Cease, that's fine. But for sure, it's Wheeler. And if you think, well, Cease, you can play the core stuff. He's talking cash. The core stuff is so easy to make two pitchers work. So I think it's Wheeler and Manea. I haven't made it yet officially, but I think it's Wheeler and Manea, possibly Cease. You need that $1,000, and that's that.
Did you qualify that statement at all, Dean? You haven't built the lineups yet, right? Tournaments. Are we playing any Wells versus Yankees? There was a lot of Yankees mushing going on in chat.
No, they only have 3 lefties. You want to target them versus lefty dominant teams.
If Eric were here, he'd be asking for that one. K Freak wants to know Ryu for tournaments.
It's fine. I'm not playing him at all.
And
in the conversation, but probably not.
Still another snack question. Giants versus Angels. Which one are you going for?
I'll still go the Giants. The pinch hit risk I'm not playing either of them, but I prefer the Giants.
I'm playing some on FanDuel because they're really, really cheap.
Dean, I like that you tried to outsmart the system by not playing Alex Dickerson and your
San was the guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, another mush. Yeah,
really?
Is that big braining?
You really gal-brained yourself into that one.
Galaxy brained.
Shannon wants to know what's the best DK build tonight. Seems like a good night for 3-3-2 builds with potentially a lot of high-scoring games.
I'm going straight up 4-4 and 5-3. Like there's a lot of cheap stacks that you can do as a 3-man, and there's 7 teams with big totals that you can do as 5-man.
You have less things you have to get right if you only stack 2 teams. If you stack 3 teams, you have to get 3 things right.
Yeah.
Mark,
you're not wrong.
Mark wants to know, fade Yankees, full stack Braves with San Fran and Wheeler.
Again, I'm not playing San Francisco anymore. And I am playing the Yankees.
All right, we are out of the saved questions. Got a minute or 2 left here. Favorite 2 SPs, DK Cash, we got that one. How necessary is a 5-man stack? I think we got that one as well. Burhan asked DK, White Sox, Boston in tournaments, or is that a cash stack?
Well, you don't stack in
White
cash.
Sox and Boston are definitely tournaments, or you can use those players in cash.
All right, moving on. Let's see any others.
You can stack in cash, I should clarify, if it happens organically. You don't force that. Yeah.
Typically, they're more 2 or 3-man stacks. Darren, Molly, or Walker will ask for tournaments.
I'm not playing either.
That depends on the site, I think, because Molly's a better play on FanDuel.
Oh, yeah. On FanDuel, you play Molly. On DraftKings, don't play either of those guys. Play Kikuchi or Cease.
Boston, Detroit game stack?
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Detroit's one that I just didn't get to, but they have some solid options there.
All right. Grant,
I'm still trying to find a Boston lineup, but go ahead. I mean to cut you off. There's no Red Sox lineup. The game starts in 50 minutes, but go ahead.
That's a little concerning. Grant, which outfielder are you skipping in a Baltimore stack?
It's whatever ones you can fit. DJ Stewart and Rob Points is my least favorite. Hayes is the one that you absolutely have to be in there. But if you can't fit Mullins in there, you can go with DJ Stewart's instead. But Mullins, Santander, and Hayes are my top 3 ones.
And that just about takes us up to the end of the show. Let's end with our Joe Judge run up and down the field home run calls for the day.
Is that the reference to the Giants coach?
It is, yes.
Was there footage of that? I didn't see the footage.
I really tried to dig for it, and I don't think I found any. I would imagine that might keep that pretty tight, but yeah, let's get some home run calls.
Grant, give us 3 guys that are going to homer.
Hayes, Fraley, Mullins.
Man, you
were ready.
Well, he just picks one team and
it's not like Fraley's on a different team.
Well, whatever. You know what I mean?
I'll have one less team than you.
Okay, Escobar is going to homer again on Milwaukee.
Ooh, expensive guy. Surprise, surprise.
we live in the world with salary cap, but like I'm playing some, I can make it work. It's not that hard. Okay, you want somebody cheap? I'll give you somebody cheap. See, now Jorge Soler is cheap. Soler's got a homer. He's going to bang one
I
out.
like that.
He's on the Braves now, right?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. It's such a weird lineup, Atlanta. Just a totally different team. And I one more for the people. Let's see. Oh man, I feel like I'm not gonna do court. Starling Marte. He's not getting this is like in a homer, but he's gonna like get home run points. How about that?
And don't forget about Mr. Stevenson there as well for the.
Stevenson is not gonna homer. I certainly hope not. Who's coming up next on Crunch Time there?
It is Will, Chief Justice, and Cheese, along with one Kevin Roth.
All right, that'll be good. Definitely tune in for that if you guys are premium members. Again, if you guys want premium, get yourself $10 off the first month for just one sport or all the sports, with the exception of NASCAR. Devin, one more time, we'll drop that link in chat before we step aside and get out of here. Do want to say thanks for asking the questions, making the show more fun. And hopefully that was helpful. We enjoy that format as well. Hit the like button on your way out, subscribe, turn on notifications. Appreciate all that. That was Devin behind the proverbial glass. That was Grant with his funky mic, funky internet connection.
Funky.
That was baseball.
Air quotes.
And that was baseball. I was Dean. We're out. Holler.